Okay, so like imagine this, right? A fuel company says, nope, not fueling the U.S. Navy. Like, what?
Sounds kind of wild, right?
Yeah, totally wild.
Mm.
It actually happened, though, over in Norway after that whole Trump-Zelenskiy meeting. Remember that?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of tension there.
For sure. So we're diving into this story today, seeing what it tells us about international relations and, just how much power one company can actually have.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah.
And this situation is like a perfect example. The U.S. Navy, they need fuel all over the globe, right? Especially in places that are strategically important,
Yeah.
like in Norway.
Right. So Norway is important for like a bunch of reasons. Got it. But why would a private company get involved in something so like political?
Yeah.
What's in it for them?
It's a good question. So to get that, we have to look at the U.S. and Norway's relationship. Norway is a super important NATO ally, and
Yeah.
the U.S. Navy, they have a big presence there. So this whole thing with Haltbakk Bunkers, the fuel company that refused service, it's definitely shaken things up.
Yeah. And they didn't just like politely decline or something. They posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, they've taken it down since then, but they said like huge credit to the president of Ukraine restraining himself and keeping calm, even though USA put on a backstabbing TV show. They even said, it made us sick. No fuel to Americans. Like, whoa.
Yeah, strong words, right? It shows you how people in Norway are feeling about this, and maybe even how some other Europeans feel about the way the U.S. handled things with Ukraine.
Interesting. So Haltbakk Bunkers, they didn't actually have like a contract with the U.S. Navy, though, right? It was more of a symbolic protest then, right?
Yeah, you're right. There wasn't any official agreement, but even something symbolic can send a message, right?
Yeah.
And this one raises some questions like, what if this leads to actual problems for the U.S. Navy down the road,
Yeah.
getting supplies and stuff? And what if other companies, even in other countries, start doing similar things?
Yeah, that's a good point. It makes you think about all those international agreements and how maybe they're not as solid as we think.
Exactly. And then you've got Norway trying to smooth things over. Their defense minister, Tor Sandvik, he reassured the U.S. that they'd keep supporting them. What do you make of that?
Well, it seems like maybe Norway is feeling some pressure, to keep things cool with the U.S. But they also have to think about what their people think and the fallout from this whole thing. It's tricky.
It is a real balancing act. And then you've got U.S. Senator Marco Rubio saying he hasn't talked to Zelensky since that meeting with Trump, and he won't until they're ready to make peace. That's pretty interesting, given how much he used to criticize Putin, don't you think?
Yeah, that's a big shift. So what's going on in U.S. politics right now with this whole Ukraine situation? Is this just Rubio or something bigger changing? What are the different opinions in the government and how will that affect
It's
things?
hard to say for sure, right? There are so many factors at play. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. So we've seen how one company's protest, even if it's symbolic, can have a real impact on international relations and even the military. It makes you wonder how fragile things really are.
It does. And it shows how, even one action can have all these consequences that nobody saw coming. It makes you think about all the other things happening around the world that seem small but could actually change everything. That's something to think about, isn't it?
Definitely. Makes you realize there's always more to the story, right?
Yeah, always more going on beneath the surface.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Anytime. It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
See you then.